Hey Sugar Snaps, welcome to the Textile Indie YouTube channel. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're an old friend, welcome back. I have a granny square tutorial for you today, and this is a quick tutorial on how to do a 12-petal motif granny square. And the purpose of this is, one, because it's fun and it's really cute, and two, because next week I'm going to take my granny squares, make a bunch of them, and turn them into a tote bag or a project bag for knitting or crochet, or a purse if you want to use it as that. So combining 15-ish granny squares together to create a bag. So that's going to be in next week's tutorial. Today, let's go over how to do the granny square itself. The yarns that I'm using for this project are acrylic yarn in a medium or a number 4 weight. And this is just something that's cheap and easy to access. So if you want to use this type of material, you can join me, or you can choose something that's maybe a little bit nicer, like a cotton yarn or a wool yarn, if you want this to have longevity and have maybe a little bit higher quality material. That's also available to you. I've linked information on yarn and resources for yarn in the description below, or you can just go out to your yarn store and get this from your local craft store. So now let's dive in. Oh, one more thing. I am using a 5mm crochet hook, which I can't remember the letter size for that at the moment, so I'll put that in the description below as well. Let's dive into this tutorial. To begin our granny square, we're going to start out with the magic ring. So lay the tail of your yellow color, or whatever the center color in your granny square is going to be. Lay the tail out in front of you. We're going to loop this up and around so that it creates a little spiral in front of you. I'm going to make this a little bit longer. And then take that loop, lay it over top of the tail, so you end up with a little pretzel shape. Now this loop on the right, we're going to grab that loop, pull on the tail on the left to create a little ring. You want the tail end of the magic loop to be the one that slides. So this is a basic slip knot. We're going to be stitching into this loop here to create the center of our granny square. And then when you're done, we can tug on the tail that's on the back here and close up that center nice and tight. So with the slip knot, slide your crochet hook into that loop, have the tail go off to the right, and the end coming from your skein is on the left. And now we're going to grab the yarn that's over your hook, pull a loop up and through that loop, your magic ring. Now yarn over and pull this yarn over through the loop. So we just chained one onto the magic loop. Now I'm going to pull this tail through so that it's on the front side facing me. That way it won't want to pull through. Now I'm going to send my hook through the loop again, catch the yarn and pull a loop up, yarn over and pull through these 2 loops to create my first single crochet. Go into the loop, grab the yarn, pull a loop up, yarn over, go through these 2 loops on the hook. We'll do this until we have 8 stitches in our magic ring. Once you have 8 stitches, go ahead and pull on your tail, and this tail will close up that hole. So as I pull, it closes up the loop nice and tight. And then we need to join this with the other side of the loop. So where my loop is on my hook, I'm going to catch the 2 loops of the first stitch that I did here, yarn over, pull through that loop and through the next loop, and that is my first round. Now the next row that we're going to do is going to be single crochet again. We're going to alternate 2 stitches in a space and then 1 stitch in a space. 2 stitches, 1 stitch. So let's go into this first space here. I'm going to yarn over, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through those 2, then go into that same space, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through those 2, That's 2 stitches in that same space. Now in this next space, I catch that stitch, previous stitch, yarn over, pull a loop through, yarn over, pull through 2. That's 1 single crochet in that space. So we alternate 2, 1. This next one will be 2. And then the next stitch we'll do 1 in this space, and then 2 in the next space, then 1. And these are single crochets, so we're going to do 2 in this next space, and then we're back to the side that we started on, so I'm going to do 1 in this last space. And if you count your stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, we're going to get a 12th stitch by catching the top of this stitch here, that first stitch we started with, pulling through and pull through the next loop, and now this will be our 12th stitch. Now we're done with the center, so we're going to cut a tail from that yarn, yarn over, pull this tail all the way through and tighten that off to secure it. There is the center of our flower. Now the petals of our flower are worked around this center piece, and we have the tail from our yellow that I want to work into the petals as we go so that we can finish off this tail and it's secured within the crocheting. So So I'm going to start this tail off on the bottom so that I can also incorporate the tail from my white into this piece at the top. So I'm going to send my crochet hook through this stitch at the top, take the end of my white and create a little bit of a tail, let that hang over the hook with the tail going towards the right, and now I'll catch this yarn and pull a loop through that first stitch. Now I'm going to chain 3. So that's chain 1, chain 2, chain 3. And now take the tail, bring it over, and you're going to lap it or lay it on top of your work so that you can see it. And that way when we start to stitch the next few stitches, we can include that into this row. Now we're going to work 2 double crochets that are incomplete. So yarn over, send your hook into that same space that we just chained into, so that same space. I'm going to be looping around that stitch and the tail of the white. So grab some yarn, loop through, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook. Now we're going to leave these 2 loops on the hook for now. Yarn over again, send your hook through that space, same space, catch a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, go through those 3 loops. That is your first petal. The first one's going to look different than the rest because we started with a chain rather than with 3 incomplete double crochets. So that is just the setup for the petals. Your next petal is going to look a little bit different. So first chain 2, this is the space between petals. Make sure that that tail is sitting on top of your work. Yarn over and go into the next space. So I'll send my hook through that next space. Yarn over, pull the loop through. Yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops on my hook. And you can see I've sandwiched the tail into this stitch in here. So it's getting caught in the stitch the same way that the stitch from the previous row is. Now yarn over. We're going to do another stitch in the same space, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and go through 2 loops. So now we have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, go into the same space again, catch a loop, yarn over, go through 2 loops, and now yarn over and go through all of these 4 loops here. So we take this yarn over, pull it through all 4 loops. Now chain 2, and we're going to repeat that 3 sections of incomplete double crochet into each space until we have 12 petals all the way around our flower center. So I'll show you that one more time, and then I'll show you how to incorporate the tail from our yellow section. So you yarn over, send it through the next stitch, catch a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go into the same space, catch a loop, yarn over, go through 2. Yarn over and go into the same space again a third time, yarn over and pull a loop through, then yarn over, go through 2, yarn over and go through all of these 4 loops. So we finish off that petal. And then yarn over and chain 2 for our space between petals. We'll do that again for the next space. So we create 3 incomplete double crochets and then finish them off like so, and then chain 2 in between to create that space. Okay, now I've worked the white tail in a bit, and for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to cut this end. If you wanted to further secure it, you could weave it backwards back into the work a little bit more, but I'm going to end that because I've secured it into the crochet pretty well, so I'm fairly confident that it's going to stay put. Now I have the tail from the yellow that I'm going to start working in. So I'll do the same thing when I get to it. I'm going to send this over top of the work and start to crochet over top of that. And then once I've done that last petal, you're going to have a little bit of bubbling in your piece, so you can set it on the table and press it down, kind of meld those stitches together. Then chain 2 to create the space between these 2 petals. Count up 3 chains if you can see that, or come into the space right between that first chain section of that first petal, pull a loop through, and then pull that first loop through the second loop as well to finish that off. Cut yourself a little tail, yarn over, pull that all the way through. Tighten it off. Now that is secure. Now we can go in and trim away this yellow that we worked into the crochet. So this center piece, the tail from that center, we need to leave on until we can weave it in with a tapestry needle or a yarn needle. And you can do that now if you would like. I'm going to leave my tails till the end because I will have another tail here at the top of my square once I've finished the border. So I'll end up with a tail in the middle and a tail at the edge. So I like to weave those in at the same time. Now we're ready for our last color, which is green, for me at least. I'm going to take my crochet hook and find a space. Let's again take the tail and point it down and send our crochet hook through a space between the petals, or where that chain 2 would be or is, and yarn over, pull a loop up, chain 5. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what this ends up being is 1 double crochet and 2 chains for the corner of the piece. So it kind of acts as 2 things to get us started. Now from here, yarn over, send your crochet hook into the same space that that chain 5 is, and lay the tail over the work like we've been doing so that we can catch it and we embed it into the work as we crochet. So yarn over, send the hook through that space, yarn over, pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, like so. Again, yarn over, send your hook through, catch a loop, pull up, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. One more for this space, yarn over, 1 more double crochet that is, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, like so. And now we're done with this corner space until we come back around to meet this corner. So we're going to move on to the next space between petals. So I'll come over to this next chain 2 space, yarn over, go into that space, and we're going to do 3 half double crochets. So yarn over and pull a loop through, yarn over, go through all 3 loops on the hook. All 3 like that. Yarn over, same space, do another half double crochet, We have 3 loops here. I'm going to yarn over and go through all 3 loops. Yarn over, go into that same space, catch a loop, yarn over, go through all 3. So that is one side or one section of this side done. Now in the next space between petals, we're going to do the same thing. So yarn over, 3 half double crochets. There we go. There's one side partially done. Now we're to the corner. So go into your next space between petals, yarn over, we'll do 3 double crochets into this space. 1, 2, and 3. Now chain 2 for the corner space, yarn over, yarn over, go into the same space, and we've just done one side of the corner. We've done the corner chains. Now we need to turn the corner and do the other side of that corner. So we yarned over, we're going to do 3 more double crochet. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet. So that ends up looking like this. So you have 3 double crochets, 2 chains in the corner, 3 double crochets. So that is one side done. Now your next space right in here is going to be 3 half double crochets. So again, pull through, yarn over, pull all the way through, that's 1. All the way through, that's 2. And 3. 3 in that space, 3 in this next space. The same half double crochet, 1, 2, and 3, like so. And now we're to the next corner. So yarn over, corners are 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. So again, yarn over, go into the space, catch a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. That's 1 double crochet. Yarn over, go through the space, catch a loop, yarn over, go through 2, yarn over, go through 2. 1 more double crochet, 2 chains, and then 3 double crochets in the same space. I'm going to go ahead and cut this green tail because I've worked that in pretty well, and now I can start catching this white tail in to my crocheting. And there is that corner. Now I have 2 sections with 3 half double crochet before I get to the next corner. So continue to work that 3 half double crochet, 3 half double crochet, your corner, 3 half double crochet, 3 half double crochet. Go, and now we're to the corner that we started on. So I did 3 half doubles in these 2 spaces. Now I'm going to yarn over, and we have one of our double crochets in this corner already with that chain that we started out with. So we need 2 more double crochets to finish off this corner. So I'll complete it with 2 double crochets into that corner space, like so. So there's 1, 2, and this chain is our 3rd. So I'm going to catch this 3rd chain over. So 1, 2, 3 from the top, loop over, and send this loop through both to finish off that row. Now we're ready for the second row of green, but you'll notice that your granny square might be a little bit lumpy. So go ahead and meld those stitches together by pressing it down onto the table. Especially with acrylic yarn, I think because it's a little bit rougher, the yarn doesn't lay flat as easily as it would if you were doing this with cotton or some other natural fiber. Acrylic kind of sticks together a little bit more. So press that down, meld the stitches together, and then we can start this next side. So this final row around, we're going to do an all single crochet and chains. So we'll single crochet 2 into the corner here. So just send your hook into that space, catch a loop, yarn over and pull through 2. That's 1 single crochet. Do that same thing again. That's 2 single crochet, and now chain 1 for the corner, and then 2 more single crochet in that same space. And then in each of these previous stitches, we're going to do a single crochet. So send your hook through that stitch, yarn over and pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through both loops. Into that space, yarn over, pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2. We'll do this all the way across. You end up with 11 single crochets across before we do the corner stitches. Then when I get to the corner, I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the corner, catching that chain area that I made in that previous row. Yarn over and chain 1, and then turn 2 single crochets in the same space to turn that corner, and then 11 single crochets across, 1 in each of the previous stitches. When you've crocheted all the way around and you've come back to the place where you've started, catch that first stitch that you did, yarn over, pull through, cut a tail, pull through that second loop, and now yarn over and pull all the way through to finish off that edge. And now we need to meld the stitches again. So you'll lay your block down on the table, pat it down a little bit until it's flat. You can also block your granny square with a damp cloth and an iron, or wet block it by getting this wet and then pinning it down on a soft surface so that it dries flat and stretched out to the shape you want it, and then it will be nice and squared up and ready to go for whatever project you want to use it for. So your last step here would be to come in and weave in your 2 tails, the tail at the end and this tail where we began. I can cut this tail because I crocheted it in. So we just have the 2 tails to finish off here. Other than that, your granny square just needs a little bit of flattening. You could even stick some books on it if you don't want to get it wet to flatten it out. And you could use this as a coaster or make up a few more and use it in a bigger project. Thanks for joining me in this tutorial. Remember, next week we'll be combining multiple granny squares together to create a tote bag. So until next week, happy crocheting. Get your granny squares ready. Choose your colors. That's the fun part, right? Picking out your colors. Each one could be different. You can do all the same colors. It's up to you. Lots of wiggle room for creativity here. And I will see you in my next video. Happy making. See you later. Bye.